Which brings us to House Bill 7543, sponsored by Chairman Corvese. It's an act related to criminal offenses, disorderly conduct, protective equipment, and disguised masks prohibited.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the judiciary. Regarding H7543, an act relating to criminal offenses regarding disorderly conduct and the prohibition of the wearing of protective equipment and the disguised masks. Let me begin by saying that the genesis of this bill was something that came to me regarding recent events. We live in very volatile political times. Whether your perspective is derived from television, radio, the newspapers, or social media, it is glaringly obvious every day that America is a polarized nation. Members of the extreme right and the extreme left face off every day with words and actions. In certain cities, such as Boston, Massachusetts, and Portland, Oregon, confrontations between these extremes have turned violent. Local law enforcement officers perform a Herculean job in maintaining order while allowing First Amendment rights to be expressed. However, their duty to keep the peace must not be hampered by individuals on both sides of the political divide who are looking to commit violence in the name of their respective causes. This bill would assist our local law enforcement in protecting all participants and maintaining the public peace while ensuring First Amendment rights are preserved. Now, I wrote that for a press release on the bill, and I believe in that statement as much when I wrote it as I did as I'm saying it tonight. Let me say that, again, the genesis of this bill was from my own observations of what we have as a very divided nation. And in some places, it has become quite uncivil and violent. There's no malice or forethought with this bill. There's no conspiracy on the part of the state to stop or inhibit First Amendment rights. I know there's some internet chatter with regard to saying that this is that the genesis of this bill is some creation of the state to hamper individuals' rights to protest. That's not my intention. My intention is expressly stated in my opening statement. Before I turn this over to, I know, law enforcement officials who've been extremely patient regarding waiting tonight to testify, and also who I hope are going to support this bill. There are two other things I'd like to mention. You're going to hear about the alleged unconstitutionality of this bill. But this bill has been passed in other states, and I'm sure I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, Representative Knight. But I think that includes Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, and Virginia, and also, I believe, Georgia. I know that in a couple of the states, the bills were ruled unconstitutional, but I know that at least in, I believe, Georgia, when the courts on the lower level ruled that it was unconstitutional, they went to the Second Circuit, and the Second Circuit upheld the constitutionality of the bill. Then they went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court did not take it up, therefore letting the constitutionality stand. I'm sure that there's some tweaking that can be done to this bill, and I'm more than willing to do that, so that the intention is even clearer than what's stated here. So I'm more than willing to work with individuals who are looking to put forth a product where First Amendment rights are preserved, but the public order can be maintained. And to that last point, the balance between individual rights and the greater good, which is public peace and order in society, I will leave you with this. The U.S. Constitution is not a suicide pact. We don't give up, we don't express individual freedoms in order to tear down or break down society. I'll be more than happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions for the sponsor?
Doc, what state was this legislation modeled after?
It was modeled after I tried to, with the help of Ledge Counsel, try to distill the best from other states, including Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, and Virginia.
Okay, just looking at it to see if there was a constitutional analysis that could have already been done.
Well, I
or a legal
believe, and
challenge.
again, I could be wrong, but I think that the facts I stated tonight were correct. And I'm sure that if I'm wrong, someone will point it out.
Thanks, Doc.
Thank you, Representative Shanley.
Any further questions of Dr. Corvese? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members
thank-
of the committee.
Thank you. Steve Ahlquist from Uprise, Rhode Island. Tony Capezza from the International Brotherhood of Police Officers. And Tom Verdi, the Providence Police Department.